I just want to take a bite out of little Miss Melly Tartface Germany's most recent comment here because it's just too silly and hilarious, and I really, guys, if you need any more evidence for why whoever this person is, male, female, German American, wherever this person is, whoever they are an idiot. Here it is. So I'll start reading the comment now. By the way, are you aware that the wish to have children is not usually associated with a higher intellect? In fact, the statistics show that the very opposite is true. You are quite right about that people leave comments on YouTube all the time. It's kind of normal. So why have you made such a big deal about this? Well, Miss Tartface, are you aware that when people are unable to recall their debate opponents, one of their debate opponents' most recent arguments that was made only within the last day or two, several times over, when a person is unable to recall such a thing, it's not usually associated with a higher intellect. Are you aware of that? Because I think I've said this at least between 2 or 3 times at this point in a few different videos in only the last 2 to 3 days. I might have even repeated it in a video that I made at some point earlier today. I will say it again here, though. Pay attention. Take out your thinking cap. Put it on real tight. Okay? All right. So, yes, I am very aware that people leave comments on YouTube all the time. In fact, I think I said that, or at least implied it. The reason I'm making such a big deal about it when it comes to you and your comments is because, in general, people leave comments on YouTube all the time. When I say that, I mean, like, for example, one person might leave a comment on one video for one YouTube channel and then another video for another YouTube channel, and they might, at most, leave a handful of comments, and this is at most, leave a handful of comments in a single day, likely spread out across a few different videos and a few different YouTube channels on the social media platform. That's just I'm speaking, of course, of the norm. I'm not talking about people who are paid to leave comments on YouTube or anything like that. Just in general, the average person, the average human being out there sitting around at the end of their workday, watching YouTube videos, they might leave maybe at most a handful of comments on a few different videos from a few different YouTube channels. All right. You, however, are leaving, what's a good word for it? Several, it doesn't even seem to be a good enough word to describe the number of comments you've left at this point. You've left a remarkable amount of comments on many of my videos on my YouTube channel. And I also said this. I pointed this out. Remember, I pointed this out a few times. Most people leave comments that amount to maybe at most 1 or 2 sentences. And quite often, their comment is only a few words. It's not even a grammatically correct, a full sentence. In fact, most of the people who comment on my YouTube channel, first of all, by far, I think you're the person who's commented the most on my YouTube channel. So there's one. That's strike one. Strike two. You by far are the person who's left the lengthiest comments on my YouTube channel. I'd say that overall, most of the comments left on the videos of my YouTube channel are maybe 1 to 2 sentences long. I'd say actually at this point, most of the comments left on my YouTube channel by other people are only a few words long. And again, they don't even really amount to a full sentence. You, however, tartface, tend to leave comments that are, as I've said, they resemble short essays or short articles. You leave comments that are quite often several paragraphs long. And I also mentioned that at this point, I think pretty much all of your comments, save for maybe one, have been I won't say malicious, but they've been targeted at belittling me, making me appear unintelligent, so on and so forth. I can't recall a single comment that you've left that was in any way supportive of myself or anything I'm talking about on my videos. So, are you able to commit that to memory, little miss? I have a college degree. Because at this point, I'd say that's maybe like the 4th time I've mentioned the fact that you leave ridiculously long comments on my YouTube channel, and that veers from the norm. I mean, a lot. Right? So how it is that you're not able to recall that when, again, I have said this in videos I made yesterday, I believe. At least within the past week. You can't recall. I mean, you go out of your way, you focus and pay close enough attention, you sit long enough to watch my videos and listen to me speak, and then you jump in a very compulsive fashion into writing these comments that don't seem to take into account the things that I say in the videos, and then turn around and accuse me of such actions. Because again, if you were taking into account the things that I've been saying in my most recent videos where I'm addressing you and the comments that you're leaving, then you should have been able to, and again, assuming you're not brain damaged or developmentally challenged, you should have been able to fairly easily recall that I've pointed out more than once within the last few days in a few different videos that you leave abnormal comments, in that they are numerous for my YouTube channel, that they are very lengthy. They are easily the longest comments I think I've ever read on any YouTube channel, not just mine. So right there, that's why I'm making such a big deal about your comments. You're clearly targeting me and my YouTube channel for whatever reason, even if that's just because I'm saying a bunch of things that have triggered your ego and your anger. And again, I think it points to the fact that you clearly don't seem to have much of a life. Maybe do you have any other jobs? Do you have any other form of employment besides working with developmentally challenged adults? Are you sure that you don't get paid by people to stalk other people's YouTube channels, to harass them online, to cyberbully them? Because you're doing this as if you're getting paid. I mean, you're dedicating that kind of time to this. You either have no life whatsoever, and that's all right. I mean, one could make the argument I don't have much of a life. Again, I'm a single lady living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Florida with a bunch of cats and a sugar glider. So I got friends I chill with, neighbors I chill with, dudes that hit on me. I just not interested in getting into anything right now. But it suggests the amount of time you spend on the comments you leave on my YouTube channel suggests that you have no social life, that you likely have no children of your own, you likely have no partner or spouse or family of your own. It's just you and your career. So, and or you're getting paid to do this. Or you're very invested in doing this because, as I've suspected and implied and accused you of, you are a member of this network of child abusers that I have been talking about in my videos on this very YouTube channel. And you are attempting to discredit me in the public eye when all you're doing is making yourself look dumber. Dumb, because you can't even recall arguments that I've made in videos addressed to you and published on this very YouTube channel within the last few days, several times over. It was not something I just said once and, hidden somewhere in a video with a bunch of other points in there. I've said this a few times over. I've talked about the abnormalities in your comments and how they stand out from typical YouTube comments. All right, have I repeated myself enough on that topic? You're abnormal when it comes to the kinds of comments you leave on my channel, when it comes to the number of comments you leave on my channel, when it comes to the overall mood and feel of the comments you leave on my channel, and when it comes to the lengthiness of the comments you leave on my channel. It says a lot about you. Perhaps you are willfully ignoring the fact that I have remarked upon your comments, which that also does not bode well for your character. You're either a lot dumber than most people likely would give you credit for being, or you're a lot more nefarious or a lot more childish. So take your pick. Now, when it comes to, by the way, are you aware that the wish to have children is not usually associated with a higher intellect? In fact, the statistics show that the very opposite is true. When it comes to that, implying that people of a higher intellect don't typically want to have children as much as people of a lower intellect. Let me just, I pulled something up here. Let me just grab it for you. So this is, oh, it went away. Let's go back right here. Here we go. This is roughly the same, fertility and intelligence. Here we go. Here's one of the main reasons. Can be found on Wikipedia. One of the main reasons accepted publicly, socially, at large, for why people of a higher intellect don't typically wish to have children, or at least don't typically end up having children or at least not as many children as people of a quote unquote lower intellect. It says right here, in most countries, education is inversely correlated to childbearing. People often delay childbearing in order to spend more time getting education and thus have fewer children. Conversely, early childbearing can interfere with education. So people with early or frequent childbearing are likely to be less educated. So it's not necessarily so much that people of a higher intellect don't wish to have children. It seems to be more that people of a higher intellect tend to put off having children in favor of pursuing a higher education, which can take them longer, particularly if they're trying to be, a doctor or something like that. And what may tend to happen with a lot of these people is that they put it off too long and they end up missing their opportunities to have children or find a good mate to have children with. Obviously women only have a certain time period where they are capable of conceiving, or at least that's what we're told. Right. And the other problem is that if you put off settling down with somebody, getting married, finding your spouse because you are dedicating yourself to your education, quite often when you finally pull your head out of the sand or out of the books and start looking around for a mate, for a spouse, they're all taken, all the good ones at least, are nabbed up. And you're left with nothing but a bunch of psychos and narcissists. And you don't want anything to do with them. So it's really, what this suggests here is it's really not so much that people of a higher intellect don't wish to have children, so much as they don't wish to have children at a young age. They are putting it off until a later date in favor of pursuing more education, likely so that they can get a better profession, and quite likely because they are hoping that that better profession will better help them to pay for a family that they might want. I'm sure that that's the case with a lot of them. And also, conversely, you need to consider the fact that a lot of people out there who end up having a lot of kids right out of the gate, who end up getting pregnant possibly in their late teens or early 20s, or maybe even mid 20s, that will often mean that they miss out on their educational opportunities. So they end up being less educated because they don't get to go to school if they have to take care of a baby or work to support a baby. So there's that. I also would like to know very much where you're getting these statistics from. Where are you sourcing your facts from? I know Wikipedia is not necessarily the best resource for facts, but I'm also not going to put too much time and energy and effort into digging around for the best resources and facts, because these are YouTube channel videos where my opponent is a moron, and I don't think it takes much to point out how moronic they are. So I'm attempting not to waste too much time on you. But this is a point that's worth making here, because I have heard that before, that, more intelligent people tend to either not have children or have fewer children. It's like, well, a lot of that is not necessarily out of choice. A lot of that is not necessarily because they don't want to have kids at all. That might even be a decision they come to later on, but wasn't always their intention. They might choose not to have kids later on if they realize that they are in their mid to late 30s and it's looking like, oh, I can't find somebody who would be a suitable spouse, and I don't want to raise children alone. And you also have to take into account their higher intellect and better education means that it's more likely that they can maybe philosophize better about the world. They can maybe understand the trappings of the world much better. They'll be racked with more what's the word I'm looking for? Misgivings, not quite the word. At least worries. They'll think more about all the things that go into having to rear a child than the average uneducated person who started having babies when they were a teenager or an early 20-something. Right? Because I know certainly when I was that age, I was thinking a good deal. I believe I was thinking more than most about, what goes into properly rearing a child. Most people my age back then, most college kids were thinking about going to the next party, getting drunk with their friends, so on and so forth. Right? And then they end up like getting pregnant by their boyfriend or something, and the boyfriend marries them, and they got to drop out of school, and he's got to get a job. And, before you know it, like they just are in it before they could stop to really think about it for too long. Whereas if you get a professional a highly educated professional in their mid-late 30s or something like that, they have a lot more time on their hands and resources to sit and to really think about it, and a lot more life experience at that point to have been able to think over a lot of what goes into rearing a child. And that might freak them out, for lack of better wording coming to mind. Freak them out. That might make them feel like they can't hack it. And that maybe it's better off. They might end up convincing themselves that it's just better off that they not have children. That does not mean that they don't wish to have children. But a lot of intelligent people talk themselves out of doing a lot of things that they want to do. I have done this. And sometimes what it really takes, especially when you're doing something like birthing a small human being and raising them. Again, if you stop to really think about the implications there and the risk levels, you might freak yourself out. You might scare yourself off doing it. So that's why a lot of people out there, I think, when they end up being parents, it's because they got themselves into it accidentally. They didn't give themselves the time to think it through. It's just, whoopsie. Well, it's here now. Let's deal with it. And there's nothing they can do at that point except just deal with the decisions they've made and the consequences of their actions, which happen to be a baby. And now they are parents. So, all right. I think I've talked about that enough. But yeah, you're dumb. Tartface. Can you just stop vomiting your stupid all over my YouTube channel? Please. Are you sure that maybe the developmentally challenged adults shouldn't be taking care of you? Are you sure you're not one of the developmentally challenged adults? Are you, dude? Hey, dude. Are you posing as your own teacher? Are you really one of those autistic adults? Are you pretending to be your own professional teacher? I don't know what you call it. Therapist, whatever. Like, what are you doing, dude? You can't recall arguments that have been launched against you only within the past few days and repeatedly launched against you. Oh, and by the way, so I will say this. Another thing I wanted to mention. Having access to a better education, a better formal education, does not necessarily mean that the person is more intelligent. I can speak from personal experience when it comes to this because I was afforded access to one of the better educations that the United States of America has to offer. And a lot of the kids I went to school with, not all of them, but a good amount of the kids I went to school with were not actually that intelligent. but they knew how to meet certain requirements, like, they knew how to get work done, handed it on time. They knew how to do it well enough, or just well enough to be adequate. So, and a lot of them, more importantly, a lot of them are not creative thinkers. We're not creative thinkers, are not necessarily creative thinkers. I've known a lot of people who have a collection of degrees from universities, but it has not helped them to be more intelligent at all. It has not helped their ability to think for themselves, or to be creative thinkers, or to be problem solvers, to come up with creative solutions for things. So I know a lot of people out there, the extent of their intelligence is that they can just read a lot of books and quote back the facts from those books to any person, basically verbatim. And when it comes to that, it's like, why wouldn't I just use a computer? If all you're good for is reading a bunch of books and telling me repeating back to me, parroting back to me the information that you read in those books, putting it down on a test form and handing it in to the teacher, if that's all you're good for, it's like, why would I not just grab an iPad and look up that information for myself? That's really kind of like, it's computer intellect, right? And I think most people out there have had enough experience with computers that they should be able to understand when I say, like, how many times has a computer let you down when it comes to not being able to adjust, to problem solve. When you hit a snag, wouldn't it be lovely if a computer could think like a human being and, course correct? But they're incapable of doing that because they are computers. And there are people out there who think like that. They have the intelligence of a computer. They can consume large amounts of information and they can spew it back out at you. But they are not good at using the information that they have consumed, and they're not good at using it in a creative way to come up with new ideas, new solutions. That's true intellect right there, in my opinion. A creative thinker. Those are few and far between. And those people are not necessarily always flush with degrees from universities. I've met a few of those people who never got a chance to go to college or never got a chance to finish. I've met a few of those people who wound up having kids at a very, very early age. And that became their life. Being a homemaker, being a mom. I'm not saying they regretted it. They loved their kids. They loved their life as a mom, so on and so forth. I'm thinking of someone specifically, the mother of one of my childhood friends. She was a very creative thinker, but she never went to school. She didn't have a career. Her career was raising her kids. So I've met people on both sides of the fence there. I've met people who, they're not creative thinkers. They might as well not have gone to college. All they can do is collect information from books and repeat it back to people. And, they're bureaucrats, essentially. They show up on time. They do as they're told by their boss until they get that raise, and they work their way up the ranks. And people think that because they went to this school and that school and got this degree and that degree, and they've got the profession under their belt, that they must be of high intellect, and that's not necessarily the case. And then you turn around and you look at a stay-at-home mom who got pregnant in her late teens, never went to college, has no profession, and you think that she's not intelligent, but she's actually way more of a creative thinker and comes up with solutions on the fly, creative solutions on the fly that the academic with all the degrees would never be able to think of. So, yeah, again, it makes me wonder, where are you getting your sources from? Where are you getting your quote unquote facts from? Who do you consider to be a person of higher intellect? What constitutes higher intellect? I think I already gave my opinion there just now. I think it's, in no small part, it's somebody who has the ability for creative thinking, creative thought. And quite often that means you can take two things that seem to have no correlation or no connection, but a creative thinker will quite often be able to find a correlation or a connection. So anyway, yeah, I'm not going to prattle on any more about this. I just wanted to tackle this one little comment of yours, because it's just, do you have what is it called? I can't remember. It's something that affects people with dementia or Alzheimer's. Something to do with sundowners. Yeah, sundowner syndrome, something like that. When it gets later on in the evening. Although I guess you left this 9 hours ago. I was going to suggest, when it gets later on in the evening, do you get more tired and less able to order your thoughts? Because the comments are just getting dumber. Or you really you're grasping at straws, aren't you? So, yeah, like I said, you still have about, 48 hours to give me an appropriate and adequate response to the question I've repeatedly asked you. You know which question I'm referring to. Or I'm just going to go ahead and remove you from the channel, because you really just... I feel like, you're dumbing me down, or you're going to dumb down the rest of my audience at this point. Try harder to leave more intelligent comments. If you're going to use words like higher intellect in your comment, you might want to make sure that your comment is actually legitimately intellectual, legitimately of higher intellect. So, all right, good night.